Hi everyone. Today we are going to go over Chapter 4 Study Guide. We're going to be talking about disk management, disk partition, different types of disks, disk technology, how we can format those. We're also going to be talking about partitions and volumes and all that good fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we have different types of disk technologies that we can use with Windows 10. And you're probably using them without even realizing that you're using them. So we have our internal disks, right? We have our external disks, so your external hard drives. We have virtual hard disks that we can make. You're using those in the pods. And then we also have multiple disks that can be used as one logical disk. Okay? So this would be an example of, multiple disks would be an example of, say, RAID. So, for example, in my classroom, the systems have 500 gig hard drives, and I have multiple students that come in and they're creating virtual machines, and they're saving their projects, and a 500 gig hard drive that's sparsed out, it's not going to do me any good. So I have them rated together, right? So basically Windows sees them as one logical drive, one logical disk. So it thinks that I have like 2 terabytes in there, and then there's like an extra one where I just have the system information on, so nothing else can be stored on there. Okay, so types of internal disk interfaces. So we have SATA, right? You guys are probably familiar with SATA if you've taken the fundamentals of computers and networks or the IT Essentials class. You know that those SATA ones are connected by SATA data cables. We also have USB interfaces out there, PCI buses out there, and then you might see custom electrical device integration. Okay. So there's technically 4, most common obviously being USB and SATA. But again, the PCI bus and the custom electrical drive, the device integration. Okay, so let's keep going here. I know this isn't the most fun stuff, but it's stuff we gotta know. Okay, so what kind of hard drives can you have as an internal disk? Well, we have our mechanical, right? Our mechanical hard drives, the lifespan of like 3 to 5 years. They have those moving parts. So again, not great for laptops, right? We don't want to be writing anything or for that thing to be moving, right? When that laptop's moving. That's how we lose data. We don't want to lose data. Okay, your mechanical drives are going to be good for desktops and servers. We have SSDs. SSDs cost a little bit more than those mechanical hard drives, but there's no moving parts. Lifespan's a little longer. I think the lifespan is like 5 to 7 years, but I mean, you can easily get 10 years, right? Depending on how much you are writing to that disk. Again, that's going to be best for laptops. You can also use them in desktops. You can use them for anything, okay? And then we also have embedded chip memory. You're going to see these in your tablets. You're going to see these in your all-in-ones. You can't upgrade them or replace them. So, not the most beneficial, but I mean, again, you're going to see them out there, right? Let's see. Anyways, so, what type of external disk interfaces then do we see? We see USB. There's eSATA. We have wireless, so your network attached storage. And then we also have Thunderbolt. And if you've ever seen a Thunderbolt cable, it is the same thing as a USB-C. It's just Apple's terminology is Thunderbolt. Okay, so it is a USB-C connection used for external drives, but it also has video audio capability as well. Okay, so, oops, I scrolled up a little too far. A blank may contain thousands of individual files from the user's perspective, but it still only appears as one physical file on a real disk, and that is a virtual hard disk. So if you were to ever look on that pod, right, that we are using, in documents, right, it shows as one single file, when you're in reality that virtual hard disk is, there's thousands and millions of files within inside of there. What are two reasons to use multiple disks as one logical disk? Well, when creating a logical disk, there's a lot more combined space than one physical disk alone. We can also use it for fault tolerance. Okay, we're talking like RAID, right? So if one disk fails, like on a server, we have a backup because there's the same thing on there, right? So they're mirrored. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say about that. Okay, sorry. Anyways, what is Microsoft's version of RAID? They call theirs storage spaces. Now, to me, storage spaces, it sounds like a TV show on like TLC or HGTV, whatever, the Home and Garden Network. No, it's called storage spaces. I've never come across it out in like the wild, right? Everybody has RAID. I use Intel's version of RAID that's set up on my system, even though Microsoft has storage spaces. I don't use it, and I honestly don't know anyone that uses it. But just keep that in your mind when you're going through. Obviously, in this textbook, it's all about Microsoft, so they try and tell you all the cool new things that they have, and sell you on their products, right? So just know and be aware of it. 8, the disk partition style defines where the BIOS examines the disk drive to determine where blocks of data are stored on the disk and the types of data in those blocks or partitions. This is your master boot record. Okay, you've probably heard of a master boot record before. It's limited on size, right? So you can only have a limit of 2 terabytes, which, in today's day and age, is like, 2 terabytes, like everyone has like an SSD that has 2 terabytes, but that there is that limit, right? You could only have a total of 4 partitions maximum with master boot record. But this is not the newest version of disk partitioning, okay? And the reason is because we're limited, right? We don't want to be limited. But what was created to replace that was EFI, which stands for Extensible Firmware Interface. And then it was upgraded to UEFI, which is Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, which can, of course, support drives larger than 2 terabytes. Okay? So, a big thing, right? So, like the older BIOS standard, the UEFI firmware controls the startup process, right? When you're booting into your operating system, when you're booting from a flash drive, it controls all of that, right? So when we're booting up, right, it is looking for that master boot record, booting to that via your operating system, okay, that disk. Now, let's talk about disk formatting, okay? So, when a new disk is added to a computer, it's initially configured as a basic disk, okay? So, your basic disk can then be partitioned as either GBT or master boot record, okay? So, your basic disk can have its space, your basic disk can have its space organized into one or more defined areas of storage, and these are called your partitions, okay? So each is going to be identified by its size and then the type of data that it's supposed to hold. So, where you can find these partition attributes, you can find them in the partition table, okay? But we also have an alternative, okay, to our basic disk. And our alternative is dynamic disk. Sorry, I should not. You can skip these. There's only one alternative, okay? So skip B and C. The alternative to the basic disk, though, is dynamic disk. So the blocks of space then are called volumes, whereas basic disk, we call them partitions, okay? Your dynamic disk also support moving that data, so using RAID, right? So moving that data over multiple hard disks, so multiple hard drives, right, with or without fault tolerance, okay? And again, an upgrade, right, from basic disk, you can have more than 4 partition limit on dynamic disk, okay? Now, do many people use this? No, and we'll get into it, right? But just know that not many people have moved over to this, even though it's been around for a while, right? It's an upgrade from your basic disk, but I'll tell you why in a little bit, okay? So, storage spaces used for disk pooling, which is like I talked about, right, in my classroom. I need that extra storage. I need to utilize all those disks. I don't really care about fault tolerance. I need the space, man. I have so many students in here, and we're doing lots of cool things, right? I need the space to do it. So, disk pooling. Whereas in a server environment, I would want fault tolerance. So if one of those drives goes down, boom, I have a backup, right? 16. The blank console is an MMC, or Microsoft Management Console snap-in, that's usually found as part of the computer management utility. So this is disk management, okay? Now, I should probably show you the right way. Okay, so we'll go to computer management, and then we will go to disk management. Okay, so this is disk management. Let me plug in. Ooh, it is not showing. So hold on here. It is not showing. I have a flash drive plugged in currently, and it does not like it. So either, oh, there we go. Test notes. Ooh, interesting. There we go. So I have it plugged in. Okay. So it's exFAT. Oh, sorry, it's FAT32. Do we have any properties here? I don't have much use. It's a 16 gig flash drive. We're using FAT32. What else can we see here? Not a whole lot. Okay. So let me go back over here. So we have high. It is basic disk. Okay, not dynamic, basic. What else can we do with this guy? Let's see, we can change the drive letter and the paths if we wanted to. I can click on my primary partition. I can format it if I want to, right? Choose the file system of my choosing, whether I want NTFS, FAT32, or exFAT. And remember, there's only 3. I only get to pick from 3, so just back of your mind, okay? And then I can choose to perform a quick format or not. Okay, so I have some options here, right? A lot, no, not really. But again, this is like an administrative tool, but there's an even cooler administrative tool where you can do a lot more stuff. And that you can only get to through command prompt. And that is this part. Okay, oops, if I could spell it correctly. Now, a big thing about using command prompt is you always got to make sure that you are reading the errors. So disk is not, D-I-S-T, is not recognized, right? Telling you probably typed something in incorrectly because that's not a command that they have. Let me get rid of this so it's not a whole, there we go. Excuse me. So now I'm in disk part. So I can do this disk, and this is all in your textbook, guys. If you want to go in and you want to mess with this in the pod, in one of your virtual machines, please, virtual machines, okay? You can play around with disk partitioning, okay? So it's showing that I have disk 2 of mine. I'm going to select disk 2, okay? And this is a basic disk. so I have one partition. Let's see this. One volume. So I'm going to go back to list volume. List part. I can select part 1. Now remember, I did have notes on there. There's no partition selected. Select partition. Why? List part. Why is that letting me? Interesting. And I don't have it open anywhere. I'm going to have to research that. Delete volume. Select this 2, this part, but interesting. I've never actually come across that before. I'm going to try one thing here. Ooh, what if I do, so format help, let's do select format disk. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I can clean it. Don't want to clean it. I can create a volume. I can extend T. I can remove the drive letter. Ooh, I wonder. Remove help. Oh, help remove. That's why it's not working. See, if I just read the thing, right? Help remove. Okay, so if I do select or list volume, and then if I do select volume 4, and then remove letter equals, what is our letter? E? Ooh, did not like it. Is it because for some reason it seems like that's protected. Remove letter E. Oh, or because I put remove letter equals E. Ah. And spell check, guys. There we go. Alright, let's do list volume. Ooh, no more drive letter. It's still showing that little there. Nope. Rescan. I can ooh. Detail. Edition 1. Oh. This part, select part 1, detail part 1. Or do I just, yeah, see, it's not letting me, Interesting. I'm going to do some checking on that, and I'll let you guys know. I'm sorry. But again, like, obviously, I'm not typing everything correctly the whole entire time. So just like that command prompt lab that I had you guys do last week, keep trying. Keep messing around, right? You're in virtual machines. You're not going to hurt anything. This is stuff that you're going to need to know. So keep playing around. Watch those 2 videos, right? Get familiar with this stuff. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, especially on those virtual machines, because guess what, guys? We can just spin up another one. It's that simple, right? Make the mistakes now and not when you're out in the field. So have fun. Play around. Play around with disk part. Find YouTube videos on disk part. Like, I know the basics. I know enough to, like, get myself in trouble and do what I need to do. Obviously, I don't know everything, right? And I will never claim to know everything. So, like, this little guy, I have no idea what that means. I've never run into that. So, I'm going to do some research and I'm going to find that out, okay? Anyways, there's my TED Talk. I kind of forgot where we left off. Many people use that. We did that. 17, I think, is where we... Okay. So do you need to restart your computer after you've made changes using disk management? And no, you don't. It takes effect immediately. And then the command line version is of disk management is what we were just in, which is command prompt. So you can do help, and then not the command and then help and then the command. Okay, and then I went through a few of those: the list disk, list the partitions, list the volumes, select the partitions, select the disk, etc. And again, if you don't know how to use it, help select, help remove, help delete. Okay, and it'll show you an example of what you need to be typing. And again, play around with it. Okay, you're not going to hurt anything on those virtual machines. Are there any special considerations that should be made when moving a basic disk? Nope. Now, remember when I told you to keep in mind why we don't use dynamic disk, okay? The reason is because, well, hold on, let me say, are there special considerations for dynamic disk? Yes, okay? So, when you move that data from one system to another, you have to go in and change the computer identification in the database, okay, in order for it to be useful. Now, how many of you want to do that? I don't want to do that. I'd rather use basic disk, okay? I'd rather just be stuck at 2 terabytes. I'll have multiple 2 terabyte drives. I don't care, okay? But that's the one downfall. Why it's like that, I don't know. But that's the reason that it hasn't taken off. And you can do this in DiskPart or the Disk Management Console. And if you don't do this, it actually shows up. So if you have that dynamic disk and you haven't changed in the database, the computer identification, it will show up as a foreign disk, knowing that it does not belong there, right? It doesn't identify. And again, I think that's why it really didn't catch on. Now, if something shows up as unknown, okay, what that means is it hasn't been initialized yet. So you just need to go through and initialize that disk. Once a volume is available to store data, then free space must be organized into files and folders using your file system. And this allows the operating system to store and organize those files. Okay. Can your choice limit the amount of data stored on a volume or partition? Absolutely. Okay. And here, let's get into that. So that drive that I was using, that was what, exFAT, I believe, or FAT32. We have different options, okay, and it can limit us, okay. So FAT is simple, it's basic method to organize your files and partitions that are no larger than 4, okay, 4 gigs in size. Ooh, maybe that's my issue. Okay, I'm going to have to go back and check that out. Okay, it does not provide any file security. It's cool. And then the replacement of FAT was exFAT. Okay, Now, exFAT then was replaced with NTFS, or New Technology File System. Okay, and with New Technology File System, we can have what's called a disk quota. Okay, so a disk quota basically lets me put a limit on how much users can store on my disk, whether it's 5 gigs, 10 gigs, whatever it may be, right? And then they can't exceed that. So that way I don't have a student, if I had it set up this way, but it wouldn't let them, store movies and, anything crazy and taking up all the space for the rest of the students and for me. Okay, so we can use disk quotas. Okay, now there is a potential replacement for NTFS. Okay, and that is REFS, or Resilient File System. Now, it was designed to verify and autocorrect all these data faults on the volume without having to bring anything down for maintenance. Basically, the only place you're ever going to see this, at least right now, unless it miraculously takes off, is in storage spaces. And again, I've never seen storage spaces use that in the wild. So you may never see it. I've never seen it. I mean, I've created labs where I've seen it, because I made it, but other than that, Alright, so can you format the system boot volume or removable media? No. Okay. We have another disk format, and that is UDF. UDF is Universal Disk Format. Okay. So this is your CDs, your DVDs. It makes it ideal to go between, say, Mac, Windows, Linux, etc. Okay. What else? We talked about drive letters, right? Drive letters is how we assign a quick reference to locate those files, or points to a partition or a volume or some mapped shared location. Okay, those drive letters. It makes it easy to find. Okay. 35. Where would you go to see general attributes of a file or a folder? That would be under File Explorer under Properties. So let me go. Oh yeah, I unassigned. I unassigned we can just do this. A drive letter. So we have these attributes, right? So we can set these flags on how we want the operating system to interact with the object. Okay, so we can set it as read-only. We have hidden, and then the main attribute flags that we have are read-only, hidden. We have archive. We have system, but I don't believe we can actually pick that attribute flag for anything. That is something that Microsoft would assign when you're going through. It actually marks it as a system flag or a system file or folder. It's something we can't do. We can compress it though, and then we can encrypt. Alright, so those are your attribute flags. Alright, so that is all I have for you for the study guide. You will notice though that there is some documentation that I'm going to have you do. I know this is probably one of your first times going through the documentation process. I did go through and put a few examples in here for you. They're obviously not Windows 10, okay? So here's some pretty good documentation, right? Tells you everything to select. Now, my only gripe about this one is that they put the pictures like this, which is whoa, man, okay? I would have put these pictures individually, so which type of configuration do you want? Would go right under this one, okay? And then this one would go under this bullet point. And so, kind of like how they have it set up right here. This is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, okay? Beautiful documentation. This one's makes me want to pull my hair out, okay? There's no pictures. I'm always trying to focus. It's rough, okay? If I was going through there, I would have a bunch of questions, and if I was handing this to, say, an intern, they'd be like, what the heck are you giving me, right? This is not good documentation, okay? So, again, if you have questions, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'm always available. Discord, again, is the best place to get a hold of me. I respond usually as quickly as possible. That way, if I'm in class, I'll respond after class. If I'm at home, I respond unless like it's past like 9 o'clock, and then I'm usually in bed and sleeping by then. But I'm an early riser, so I'll get back to you very quickly. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Again, reach out if you need anything. Thanks, guys.